I'd never believed that a single mistake could change the way I looked at people forever. It was supposed to be the easiest evening of my life. A blind date. One coffee. A polite conversation. If there wasn't any chemistry, we'd shake hands and go our separate ways. At least, that was the plan. Instead, I walked up to the wrong table, smiled at a woman who looked old enough to be my grandmother, and asked, "Emily?" She looked up from her tea with kind blue eyes and laughed softly. "No," she replied. "But you can sit here for a minute if you'd like." Those words should have been the end of an awkward misunderstanding. Instead, they became the beginning of a story I'll never forget. I was 32, lived in Chicago, and had finally let my coworkers convince me to try online dating. After months of hearing, "You'll never meet anyone hiding behind your laptop," I agreed to let a friend set me up. Her name was Emily. All I knew was that she'd be wearing a green sweater and waiting inside a cozy cafe downtown at 6 o'clock. Simple enough. Except when I arrived, nearly every woman in the cafe seemed to be wearing some shade of green. I spotted one sitting alone near the window. Grey hair. Elegant smile. Green cardigan. Without thinking twice, I walked over. "Emily." She smiled with amusement. I haven't been called Emily in 76 years. My face burned. "Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry." I started stepping away. Then she tilted her head. "You look disappointed." "I think I just embarrassed myself." "You certainly did." She laughed again. "But embarrassment isn't fatal." I couldn't help laughing too. "I'll let you get back to your evening." She glanced toward the empty chair. "Unless you'd like to sit for exactly 1 minute. I promise I won't bite." There was something comforting about her voice. I checked my phone. My actual date hadn't messaged yet. 1 minute couldn't hurt. I sat down. "My name's Margaret," she said. "I'm Daniel." "Nice to meet you, Daniel, who mistakes grandmothers for blind dates." I laughed harder than I had in weeks. She asked about my job. I told her I designed software for hospitals. She nodded proudly, as though I'd told her I'd cured cancer. Then she asked something no stranger had ever asked me. "Are you happy?" I froze. People usually asked about money, career, relationships, not happiness. I honestly don't know. She smiled gently. That's usually the answer people give when they're not. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. "Emily. I'm so sorry. Traffic is terrible. I'll be another 25 minutes. I looked at Margaret. "I guess I have more than 1 minute." "So do I." We ordered another cup of tea. 25 minutes turned into nearly an hour. Margaret told stories about growing up in a tiny town in Ohio. About meeting her husband in a grocery store. About raising 3 children. About losing him after 51 years of marriage. She never complained. Not once. She spoke about him with so much love that it felt as if he had simply stepped outside for fresh air. Finally she looked at me. "You know what loneliness really is." I shook my head. "It's not living alone." She paused. "It's having stories with no one left to tell." Her words settled heavily in my heart. I looked around the cafe. Everyone was staring at phones. Working on laptops. Talking loudly. Yet this remarkable woman had probably been invisible to everyone except the waiter. I wondered how many people walked past her every day without seeing her. Emily eventually arrived, apologizing breathlessly. "I'm so sorry." I stood. "No worries." Margaret smiled. "I suppose your actual date has arrived." Emily laughed after I explained the misunderstanding. Before leaving, Margaret reached into her purse. She handed me a folded napkin. "Open it later." Then she winked. "Try not to confuse any more elderly women tonight." Emily and I shared coffee. She was perfectly nice. Funny. Smart. Beautiful. But strangely, my thoughts kept drifting back to Margaret. Our conversation felt effortless. Meaningful. Real. When the evening ended, Emily smiled kindly. I don't think we're a romantic match. I nodded. I was thinking the same. She laughed. But you seem like a wonderful person. So do you. We hugged goodbye. As I walked toward my car, I remembered the napkin. Inside was a handwritten sentence. If you ever have an extra hour, spend it with someone who usually spends theirs alone. No phone number. No address. Nothing else. Just that. I couldn't stop thinking about it. The following Saturday, I visited a nearby nursing home. Not because I knew anyone there. Because of one sentence. The receptionist looked surprised. Who are you visiting? I actually don't know. She blinked. Then smiled. We have plenty of people who'd love company. I met Mr. Harris. A retired firefighter. He spent nearly 2 hours telling me about rescuing children from apartment fires. The next week I met Mrs. Alvarez. She taught me how she baked bread from scratch for 60 years. The week after that, I played chess with a former history teacher who intentionally lost just to keep me coming back. Without realizing it, Saturdays became my favorite day of every week. Months passed. The nursing home became part of my life. Then one afternoon I saw a familiar face. Margaret. She was sitting in the garden with a blanket over her knees. Daniel. She smiled as though she'd expected me. I wondered if you'd take my advice. You planned this. I hoped. I sat beside her. You never told me you lived here. You never asked. Fair enough. She looked healthier than I'd expected. But there was sadness behind her eyes. My children live across the country, she said quietly. They call. She smiled. They love me. Then her smile faded. But busy people often mistake phone calls for presents. I didn't know what to say. So I simply sat beside her. Sometimes silence is the kindest conversation. Over the following year, Margaret became family. She celebrated my birthday. I celebrated hers. We played cards. Walked slowly through the gardens. Argued about baseball. She always cheated at Scrabble. She denied it every single time. One snowy afternoon she handed me a small wrapped package. You've already given me enough. She shook her head. No. Inside was an old pocket watch. It belonged to my husband. I can't accept this. You must. It's too valuable. She smiled. The watch isn't valuable. She tapped my chest gently. The person wearing it is. Tears filled my eyes. I barely knew you. No. She whispered. You simply chose to see me. A few weeks later I received a phone call. Margaret had passed away peacefully in her sleep. I drove to the nursing home with tears blurring the road ahead. The staff handed me an envelope. She had left it for me. Inside was a letter. It read, Dear Daniel, the evening you mistook me for someone else, I had planned to drink my tea and return to a quiet room where no one expected me. I believed my most important conversations were behind me. Then a young man sat down by accident. You thought I changed your life. The truth is, you gave me back part of mine. Never underestimate the power of giving someone your time. Money disappears. Gifts wear out. But being seen, being heard, those are treasures that stay with the heart forever. Thank you for making an old woman feel remembered. Love. Margaret. I cried harder than I had at my own grandfather's funeral. Not because I'd lost someone. Because I'd been lucky enough to know her. Today, every Saturday morning, I still visit that nursing home. Some of the faces have changed. Some chairs are empty. New residents arrive carrying lifetimes of untold stories. Whenever I meet someone sitting alone, I pull up a chair and introduce myself. Because I learned something extraordinary from a simple mistake. Sometimes the person you think you're looking for isn't the one you truly need to meet. And sometimes the greatest blind date isn't about finding romance. It's about finding humanity. All because one older woman looked at an embarrassed stranger and smiled. You can sit here for a minute if you'd like. That minute became the most meaningful years of my life.